It's almost like there needs to be a vernacular that the entire company adopts, because you're right. Wall Street, what are they looking at? They're looking at revenue. And the extension between, or the connective tissue between revenue and what you're talking about, the successful onboarding, guess what? Is less churn. Less churn means greater NRR. And there was a great study that Forrester did a couple of years ago that talked about how for organizations, 73% of new annual revenue, 73% should be coming from existing customers. But we chase new logos like there's no tomorrow. But what you're talking about is OKRs and KPIs that drive that NRR. Any good CEO or CFO should know our business, one of the number one KPIs should be NRR and reducing churn, because then those are the customers that also have the highest NPS scores. They're the ones that are going to refer the most. The impact on revenue beyond their contribution, specifically in revenue, beyond that is exponential. I love the way that you connected all that together. Now, the reality that we live in is that quarterly short-term focus gets reverberated all throughout the organization. Talk to your CRO. If he's not performing or she's not performing on this quarter's quota, there's issues. And it's the very first thing when you walk into the boardroom. Nobody is asking about customer experience. Nobody's asking about any KPIs on customer experience. What they're doing is they're saying, hey, how are we doing on the quotas this quarter? What does next quarter look like? So this is where the disconnect happens. This is where the short-term focus impacts us as customer experience, customer support, and a lot of other departments where we have an extraordinarily short tenure. And that's the unfortunate truth. The question is, what can we do to combat that? If we know what we're doing has significant contributions to revenue and growth in the business, but we're not being credited for it, and we're not being given the time to put the programs into place. Like you said, you can't just say to the customer, oh, we're starting over again. It's the new quarter. What do we do? What can we do?
Yeah, it comes down with being just relentlessly focused on the customer. And that's easy to say and put the customer at the forefront of it. But when you put the customer at the forefront of the board meetings, of any advisory boards, anything like that that you do, and it becomes this constant, narrative in every interaction that you have, whether it's a one-on-one with a direct employee of yours, or if it's a presentation you're giving out to the whole team, town halls or all hands type meetings, you've got to make sure that communication is there and what you're doing is being reported. Yeah, I've had success in the past. I remember in previous roles, I oversaw the churn for the whole company. Company at that time was probably about 2,500 people globally. There were two people, myself and my boss, that had churn as a part of our compensation in the entire company. So I sound like the village idiot going, we need to do this, we need to do that, pitchforks and fire and everything, trying to make it happen. And what I did was I took a different approach and I started having those conversations. Every conversation I had with product, with engineering, with support, didn't matter what part of the business it was. Let me give you the why. Let me explain the why am I asking about this? Why am I saying this is here? Data doesn't lie. You got to make sure you have all your data in line. Here are the themes. Last 3 months, we've lost X number of customers or X dollars in customers. Here are their churn reasons. Here are their dissatisfaction reasons, whether it's CSAT, DSAT, NPS, churn, whatever. Score it. Pick up the phone, call the customers. It's crazy how much you can get out of a customer when they've already gotten out of their contract or they already left the business. They will just give you everything, whether you want to hear it or not. But it also, at that same time, you've got to have the thick enough skin to take the feedback. And I think that's also that a lot of people, oh no, product's perfect. Our product doesn't have any issues. Your product is perfect for how, as you're saying earlier, the engineers built it. But did they take the customer ideology or thoughts into mind of how they're going to actually use the product? Then you get into the customization, you get into all this. That's not scalable. That's not long-term supportable. So everything's got its give and take that you have to think about. But by making sure that you're using that feedback and you're sharing it, you can take things like myself being one of the 2 people in the entire company who had churn, to next thing, pretty much every director plus across all organization had churn as part of their metric. And you had quarterly business reviews that we were doing with executive levels where churn is becoming a household name. And then it became NPS was a household name and customer experience became a household name. And it's helping drive that, but it wasn't by just, hey, we have to put it in there and start at the top and move down. It was this ground level movement of explaining the why. And you start to see, okay, here's where this goes. This is why. And that methodology and that approach that I took, you get a few people bought in, and now they start speaking it, and it just grows and grows. And I think one of my proudest moments as a leader was seeing those people that bought into my approach become extremely successful, both internally in the organization, but then also externally at other companies and grow and lead. And now you start to see this network of customer advocates that are just out there going, here's how you do it. Here's what we have to do. And here's how we're going to go. And that's one of the reasons I'm in the role I'm in today is we have a phenomenal opportunity in a company that's growing extremely fast. I want to say our user base grew, I think we've had 2 million end users between when I started June of last year and today. And it just keeps growing and we're just getting bigger. At the same time, that's awesome. That means the product's there, the desire's there, the appetite's there. But do we have the team set up to scale and grow? And, I've got leaders who take it into, we use football terms. We're going to get you to the 1 yard line and we're going to get you there. We are not going to fumble it. Because if we fumble it on the 1 yard line, that's a problem. So you as a customer are going to be successful. There is a part of this customer's got to take it over the goal line to be successful, but we make those people look like rock stars. And now all of a sudden that manager or whatever becomes off, looking like the superstar. Will they get promoted? And those are the stories I love to see. When you're looking through LinkedIn, it's, oh, so-and-so is now senior director or VP or CIO. It's like, we did our job.